are they better or do they look different with Jimmy? And when I really took a deep dive into the schedule of 23-8, no, they didn't play Oklahoma City during that stretch. They didn't play Minnesota during that stretch. They caught the New York Knicks. One of the games, there was no Karl-Anthony Towns. The other game, there was no Jalen Brunson. I don't know how much better they were, but they did catch lightning in a bottle. But the schedule was also very favorable during that 23-8 stretch. Now they catch the Houston Rockets, who were a team without playoff experience outside of Dylan Brooks. And we know how Dylan the villain is. And then, mind you, Fred VanVleet, who won a championship with Toronto, he ended up being one of their better players in that series. Let's not forget that series got taken to 7. Mm-hmm. And award them out. So to come into this season when they got older, despite being on the roster, and then they bring in Al Horford, which he's got a player option. Every game they walk into, they're at a disadvantage athletically. And you have all these guards who are small. They're not as athletic. And their point of attack defense has been atrocious. The turnovers have been atrocious. Points off turnovers, they're in the bottom of the league. So
second chance points.
Second chance points, bottom of the league. So all that comes into play, and then the Draymond and Jimmy fit. They've got to figure out how to get Draymond and Jimmy to play more fluid offensively. And as we saw in that Portland game, when Jimmy doesn't have the ball in his hands, and there's plenty of examples in that game where Jimmy just drifts to the three-point line, and he drifts away from the action. When Jimmy has the ball, we know teams are not going to defend Draymond Green on that side of the floor. So in the first half, Draymond Green took advantage of that, 14 points. In the second half, he only shot 2 times. Yeah. And then the turnover bug got to him where he turns it over 5 times in the second half and 8 times total in that game, 8 of the 18 turnovers from Draymond Green. So they've got to figure out how to get those two connected offensively, Monte. Do we have that conversation now about Draymond Green coming off the bench? Do you make another lineup change? Because we see Steve do this in the past. This is why the messaging when he talked about Will Richards saying, hey, we want to reward the old guys. They've done it before. That did not happen with Klay Thompson his last season. He had to come off the bench 14 games. In his first game, he came off the bench when he scored 35, 37. He lit it up. Actually played better coming off the bench. Do we have that conversation about Draymond Green? Does Draymond slide as a sixth man? Because, again, we get so caught up in who starts. But Draymond, even if he does come off the bench, he's going to see 30 minutes a game. It's not a crime to come off the bench in this system. But to get off to a better start and to get Jimmy rolling, we got to have a conversation. Do you make a lineup change within those two guys?
Yeah. If you take Draymond out of the starting lineup, what do you do to your defense? Offensively, yeah. You know, if you could just say, I want Draymond to sit on the bench the first 6 minutes on offense. You can't do that, though. You got to play both ends.
Monte, this defense hasn't been good anyway.
Oh, wait a minute. That's top 5, man.
Please.
I know.
Yeah, I know you're joking. I know we had this conversation.
Yes, I know.
Our eyes tell us this is not a top 5 defense.
Well,
so defensively,
the defensive rating is top 5. But when you watch the games and you see the number of open shots teams get, the number of second chance points, all these things aren't exactly accurately reflected in the defensive rating. Can you maybe toy with the possibility of having Draymond come off the bench like Andre Iguodala did a few years ago?
Exactly.
You know, can you toy with that possibility? I could see, but you take away offensively, you take away the Steph Draymond game, and defensively you hurt your defense for sure. So that's the hard part. That's why it's not an easy call to make.